Right, so here is another question, question 12 from 2015. So what it is we've got a milk tank and it's got a lot of milk in it and we want to calculate what the depth of the milk is. So what we obviously use our knowledge of angles within circles. So what we've got here is that's the depth of the milk. So all this part, that's this air, and that's the milk here. Now, you'll remember if we create a triangle, which isn't the best drawn, in which two of the sides are the size of a radius, we've actually got two sides are the same and we've got an isosceles triangle. Okay, now what we've got here is the radius of the circle, so that's 1.2, and we've got the m to l is 1.8. Okay, so that's 1.8. Now, what we can do is, if you look at this triangle, we could actually split this into two. Okay, so if we split this into two, we're left with a right-angled triangle, and we're also left with a side in which, if it was 1.8, well, half of 1.8 is 0.9. Okay, now, if it's a right-angled triangle and we know two sides, we can do the Pythagoras theorem. So if I scroll this down, I'll just redraw this so it's a wee bit bigger. So we're left with a triangle like this. Okay, right angled triangle, that is 0.9 and that is 1.2. Now, if we look at the actual formula for Pythagoras, what we've got is that the largest side we call C, and then we can call these sides any sides that we're after. Okay, so we can call this one, call that A if we wanted, and call that B. Okay, now the formula says if C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Now, we know C squared, so obviously we can rejig this formula, so that's why being able to rearrange a formula is really important. So if we rejig this formula, we could end up having, because we want to work out this distance, right? So this distance here, so we can say A squared equals C squared minus B squared. Right, so again, if we look at all the sizes, we can then just actually fill in these sizes. So we'll say A squared equals, well, C squared is 1.2, so that's 1.2 squared, and that is minus 0.9 squared. And end up A squared, and that equals 0.63. And obviously we then take the square root, so we can say A is the square root of 0.63, and that gives us A equals 0.79. So we have now that distance. Okay, now that's not the full depth of the milk. The full depth takes you all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so what we can then say is we know the radius is 1.2, so we know that's 1.2. We know that side is 0.79. So we just add them together for the whole depth. So what we can now say is depth equals 0.79, which we just worked out using Pythagoras, plus 1.2, because that's the radius. And that gives you a depth of 1.99 meters. Okay, and that's your answer for that question.